dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun. Starship Strange Worlds Season 2. That's it. It's Calicaster, and coming soon. The novelization of the first season of Star Trek Strange Worlds is Silly Trek Strange Worlds, even though Silly Trek Strange Worlds, the book series, actually started way back in 2020 with Planet of the Fallen Ones and the Maelstrom song. But the TV version is the weird thing is that instead of starting with the Planet of the Fallen Ones, we waited until season 2 to do that. And yes, we have an adaptation of the story, 7 episodes of it, and we are going to do it for season 2. Production will begin in January. That's not too far off. It's mid-December. It is, yeah, it's early December right now. It's not too far off. January. So January 2022, there will be an adaptation of this. There will also be the storybook novelization of the first season with the Tribbles and all that, which hasn't been done as a book, so we're sort of reverse engineering thing. Like some fans have done with Star Trek online books, they've taken our Silly Trek online book and made a story of it. Even though originally, if you go back to the original Silly Trek Collective, Part 1 actually was based on a couple of movies that has since been lost. We do actually have one of those movies. We have the Silly Trek Adventure, and which later was kind of evolved into Starcrackers, which is a Starcrackers fan film. You can see online. Kind of what it became. Also, Distant Destinies, which Starcrackers became Space Vanguards USV, and Distant Destinies became Canary Space. Anything that was left over became Space Timeline and Sillian Space. All the Sillian Space stories are out there on the net, on the web, on Amazon.com if you want to check them out. And it looks like the Planet of the Fallen Ones and Maelstrom are both only $2.99. So you can get them real cheap. Dirt cheap. And you can download them and read them because, yeah. Also, we have taken the liberty of our... Well, we don't have a legal department, but if we did, the legal department said to remove the byline from Colavito. He had nothing to do with the story. It's going to look like he did, and it's going to confuse Amazon into thinking he did. So we've removed the byline. Jason Colavito had nothing to do with those books. It's just based on his blog. That's enough to say that in there, that some of it's based on the blog. The 7-episode series, also based on the same blog. The bloggers, not the blog, the bloggers. Well, we don't know who they are. They're anonymous, right? So it's all anonymous. Here is the 7-part series, the second season. The first season actually was 8 episodes, technically, but the Tribble one was a 2-part, which we wrapped a Calicat story around the David Gerrold script with the Tribbles, which the David Gerrold script was an hour. Okay. And changed it too. So we had David Gerrold. Well, we gave him a byline in that story in the episode because, yeah, he wrote a story that's very similar to it. So we had to give him credit in the episode, and we will give Colavito credit for this in the episode. And the way we'll do it is sort of we have this episode like Fate Protects Fools. This episode, saying based on the Watchers blogs 2013 and 2014 by Jason Colavito, and on Planet of the Fallen Ones by Cal Cat. Creative consultant Mark's Cards, who did say that you have to remove that byline. The next one is In God's Mistrust So these are about space gods and giants. There already is another Fallen Ones cheesy TV movie, and there are several other versions of that. There have been people that have complained about Colavito doing Fallen One stories and Nephilim stories, to which he responded, "You don't have a copyright on Nephilim and Fallen Ones and Watchers. Nobody does. It's public domain. It's in the Bible. It's public domain. You can do a story about the Watchers." The next one's called Sons of Man. And then we get to the one Mark's Cards is the most excited and jazzed about. Grave Robbers from Space. Sort of a nod to Ed Wood. Well, in a way, Ed Wood's original title for Plan 9 from Outer Space was Grave Robbers from Outer Space. So this is paying homage to that. And this one is based not only on the Colavito story, but the infamous grave robbing incident. Alien TV hosts plan to examine a grave, 2016. And Colavito and Andy White, and J. Hudson Pulitzer. His name is Pulitzer, but he's not the Pulitzer Prize. He just named himself that so he sound more important. Surely be backstory later, but this is very preliminary. And what we have here is, well, now we have story, now we have scripts. We're gonna go on and do something else with Funko Pop bobbleheads, but for Christmas. But then we'll go back to this. That doesn't have a script. But yeah, we have so basically what the grave robber thing was in 2016, there was a rant blog that rocketed Jason Colavito's Ancient Alien blog reviews to stardom. If you don't know who Jason Colavito is, he's a blogger. He doesn't have a show necessarily. He was on the premiere of Ancient Aliens, and he was interviewed by his friend George Sokolos, the guy with the funny hair, and that was it. And he's been reviewing it ever since for 15 seasons. They're short seasons, so yeah, it hasn't been 15 years. It's been like 8. But yeah, they do short seasons. Anyway, so we've been following the blog. The character Cal. And last season on Silly Track Starship Locations, we did an episode. We did a couple episodes with some of his stuff. Gave him a byline and said, "Okay, we've some Ancient Alien stuff in there," because it was fun. The last two were the Alien Giants, and then followed by Meltdown on his blog. That was the two finales, the two Incident at Aldani 1 and 2. This is sort of a prequel sequel to that. This is on the premise that we don't need to do a novelization of Season 2 because Season 2 already exists as the Planet of the Fallen Ones. But what's interesting is the Planet of the Fallen Ones is incredibly embellished. It's completely different, and there's a planet of Funland type of holographic planet, holodeck planet, and they're on the planet. In this version of it, it's the bare bones, just the blogs. They're on the planet, and they don't see all the fantastical stuff from the book. So that's all gone. So in this version, it's the more realistic, grittier version, still set in 3190, by the way. They get transported there by a Q-like entity, so they can spend the 7 episodes in the other place, and then go back again. And it opens with a wedding. So all comedy should open with a wedding. That's what Shakespeare said. There will be a wedding. I'm not saying which characters are getting married, but you'll find out in the story. So in January, the characters. So we have a lot of them returning from last season. I'll tell you in advance that Ezri Dax's character, Ezri Locarno, is not returning for Season 2. She might return later, and the daughters are not returning for Season 2. Locarno is not returning for Season 2. Lucky Clerk and Sam Clerk are not returning for Season 2. They should not be in any of them. The rest of them, however, maybe they will. Everyone else will. And Vita Cola will naturally return. But yes, and Koloth and Cyrano will be back, and Shadow Dancer, and some of the other ones. Well, we'll see. We'll see who's back. I know who's back. I'm just not telling everybody who's back. But yes, and no, it's not Coalescence and Cyrano to get married. No, that didn't happen. No, that's not what happened. So yeah, we planted the fallen ones, and right after this, I'm going to do a Star Trek review of a Discovery episode. I think it's episode 5, season 4. But before then, for the other channel, before then, yeah, I would like to say something about the grave robber story is based on this 2016 event, in which Pulitzer and Scott Wolter and his friends, we raided the Colavita website all day because they had wanted to go on their show. They had a blog show after America on Earth ended. And they had their own little show, and their own little private show. And they wanted to go to exhume a grave. Yeah, because they thought there might be giant aliens there. Yeah, and their response to being accused of doing this, even though they said they were going to do it in their post, which has been taken down since then. Post is still there, but the podcast in which they said they were going to do it is gone. So they took it down. Their legal team took it down. I'm guessing. Yeah, and basically all of the commenters on the Colavita blog called them out. They responded in kind by saying they were going to sue them for defamation. They never got sued for defamation. They just went off on a tangent. One of them was Andy White, who's another blogger and has another show, and he did a response and commented on in his response, also commented on the sword story, the fake Roman sword, Nova Scotian Roman sword story. There's a lot of fake things out there. Yeah, and it was a little less tenuous. The two of them went on, the blogs went on a lot longer, and the storybook version goes on a lot longer than this one does. We thought the Grave Robber story would be best, just one episode, and the sword one, another episode. With a little of the Grave Robber one mixed in for the sword. So those two will have a character we've renamed Prize Hunter, who reappears in it, and is pestering them. Comes to fruition later. But yes, yeah, it's not Pulitzer, it's a parody of him. Yeah, so spoof. Yeah, and it does not defame or slander anybody. It's entirely, he might as well deny that it exists at this point because he took the podcast down. We're assuming that what happened is the actual national park that they were going to. I think it was Nova Scotia, Minnesota, and then Nova Scotia. I think it was Minnesota, though. They were going to go there, and the park got wind of their plans because they've been blogging on there complaining for a good 5 or 6 days. It seemed like weeks, but it was 5 or 6 days. And they got wind of it. And of course, that made them panic and go over to the Andy White site, complain to him and say, Andy White, you did it. And Andy White's all, no, I didn't. I didn't do it. It would have been funny if I did it, but no, I didn't do it. Oh, and he never did figure out who did it. But no, he ratted himself out because he put it on SoundCloud. And everybody could see it. And once it became famous, and Colavita became famous, that was that. So yeah, we will not say that, yeah, it's unofficial Colavita story, unofficial. It's not him. We're not associated. So other fringe sycophants, don't come over here complaining that the Chimera people are associated. They're not. I was one of the bloggers. I was the character Cal or Holocat publishing on there. That's all I was. So I was just a blogger. I was the one taking all the notes. The one that they're all, oh, somebody in here is taking notes on the other blogs from before. And all. Yeah, it was me. So I knew when all the goofy stuff happened. You know. But yeah, I did not do anything hateful. No hate speech, nothing like that. No slander, no libel. I would just comment on things like, oh, space giants are silly or whatever. You know, it's interesting enough to do a story though. So yeah, season 2 is based on an already existing story from 2020. So we took the easy way out and said, let's just adapt something we already did. Part of the reason for doing that is that the Starcracker series, the Space Vanguard series, and then vicariously the Canary Space series, both some of my stuff, there's certainly material there that could be made into a series as well. We wanted to see if we could do it by taking a 270-page story, breaking it down to 7 episodes, and then saying, we could probably do the Starcrackers remake of the other one. We could do that. It's entirely not a remake, or it's entirely possible to do a novelization of those other stories. We just have to figure out what would go where. Probably have to use G.I. Joes or something, but yeah, it's entirely possible to do something like that. A fan film of our own stuff too. Yeah. So, anyway, so yeah, so this was finished on the 8th, here on December 8th, 2021, and after the third, the COVID booster, so a lot of the grammars that I didn't check is probably weird, but it's probably going to be ad-libbed anyway, because very much that's a Kelly Bullock's thing. and yeah, I'm not going to, it's not all verbatim like the other ones were. It'll flow better if it's dialogue. Yeah. No, that's anyway. So, sorry.